Gonna wait for some people to join. Hopefully we get some tonight. How's it going, everybody? Got a couple people on. All the way from Australia. That's awesome. Welcome. Got about 3 or 4 of you guys on here right now. We're this is our second live that we've ever done, and we get a lot of newbies that ask me a lot of questions on this channel, which is exactly what it's for. So I'm happy to help. And a lot of the new guys are always using the Eastwood powder coating system. So there's your hot coat system there. Hi from Puerto Rico. I didn't realize we drew people from so far away. You guys are familiar with the US at all? I'm actually from Iowa. It's kind of central, northern. Canada. That's pretty cool. Do we have anybody from the US in here? I can't even imagine, like, Puerto Rico, how you get supplies and all that kind of stuff in there to powder coat. There we go, California. So I just wanted to go live again. I had a lot of fun doing that last one. I hope I helped some of you guys. If you want to ask questions, just go ahead and do it. I'm going to try and be a little bit better. I went back and watched the video once I posted it. And I can understand your frustration if you're watching on a device where you can't see what people are typing. So I'm going to try and do a better job of reading questions and then answering them. Adam, thanks for joining us from Florida. But I thought I've had this since I started powder coating. The Eastwood powder coating beginner's guide. When I first started, I bought their powder coating gun kit, and I got like some of the silicone plugs, some tape, I think like a couple bottles of powder, and that kind of stuff. So the other thing that came with it was this guide, and I actually just went to their website before starting to make sure that they still had it for sale. They do. It's $19.99. Just so you know, I'm not getting paid by Eastwood to do this. I just thought, I haven't read it in forever, so I thumbed through it today. From what I've read through just real quick, Joe Richardson works at Eastwood, and he's been there for like 12 years, I believe. And he's the one that wrote this manual. And to be honest with you, I was just kind of, I remember reading it and thinking, man, that ain't right, that ain't right. But then I kind of went through it again, and a lot of the stuff in this is actually really good information. It's like any instructional manual. He goes into like what powder is and how the particles are a negative charge and they go to the ground to dissipate the charge and all that kind of stuff, which most people understand. He kind of talks about how, you know, with a spray can, you're going to get just where you're spraying it, whereas with powder, it wraps around the item. So he kind of talks about that kind of stuff, what the cure is. He makes some really cheesy 80s jokes in it, but the only thing I can tell you about cure from what I've talked to people about is read the data sheet on the powder. It's not put it in a 400-degree oven for 10 minutes. It's part temperature based on what the data sheet tells you to do. So There's some misinformation, some safety warnings. If you guys are powder coating without a mask, that's just a horrible idea. You're breathing in all those particles. Goes over the 2 guns they offer. If you're going to spend the money on their original, you might as well get the dual voltage gun there. It's going to allow you to do a little bit more, like 2 coats and stuff like that. It goes over your air requirements. The only thing I can say about that, you don't need a lot of air to powder coat, but you need to make sure it's dry, clean air. So that's why they're showing that filter there. Goes over ovens, curing, and all that kind of stuff. If you have questions, just give me a note here and we'll read them. But then it goes over like preparing the parts and all that kind of stuff. So everything you would expect it to go over. The part that I thought was kind of interesting was the filler part, because a lot of people have questions on what to use for filler. Lab metal is one of the leading fillers, just because I think it's the most well-known high temp, but they kind of talk about using their lead-free body solder kit. And I didn't really ever think about it, but that would work pretty well. It's got a melting temperature, it says, of 428 degrees. So I don't know, I've never tried it. If you've tried it, leave me how do you guys fill your stuff, or do you? Leave a comment, let me know. Kind of talks about like how to apply the powder. Like they give you a really bad example of too light a powder. Talks about like practicing on old metal cans, which that's not a horrible idea. And then the part that I kind of like, it gets into like advanced techniques here. So it's like translucents and chromes and stuff like that. It goes over applying clears, what hot flocking is and how to do it, how to paint glass. Goes into like 2-tone finishes, which is kind of interesting. They recommend doing a base coat, like the way they did the tank, they did a base coat black and did a full cure and then taped it off and then coated over it, which I don't suggest, because when you do your base coat, that red on top of it can't adhere to it. So it's just going to glaze out over it, which is going to lead to failure. So I would not do a full cure on that. Talks about doing like raised parts, that kind of stuff. Talks about using primers, and then it's got like a section that talks about issues like why the powder isn't adhering, or if it's coming out in clumps, what a large cloud of powder means and how to adjust all that kind of stuff. And then it talks about like different issues you can have, like fish eyes, cracks in the clear or translucent when applied over chrome, which it's an incomplete cure. You didn't get the cure all the way done usually when that happens. So they've actually, I mean, it's pretty well covered as far as a beginner would need to see. And then they have their frequently asked questions. So it just goes through a bunch of that, like how do you apply clear? Can I polish and wax? How do I apply paint over a powder coated surface? Just cool stuff like that. So, you know, after rereading it, I don't think it's too bad of a little book for $20. I've taken some really expensive classes that haven't gone into that kind of in-depth information. So if you're new, it's probably not a bad thing to pick up. Again, they're not paying me to promote this. I'm trying to get them to send me one of their guns so I can test it for y'all, but maybe send them a message, tell them to send me one. We got Massachusetts, we got Utah, and another Florida. Welcome, guys. So some of you guys, if you're just checking in, we just kind of went over the book, but you'll have to watch that later. I'm not going to do it again. Any questions out there? You guys are awful quiet tonight. I got my beer. I'm ready to answer some questions or talk about projects. If you haven't yet, and you're enjoying it, go ahead and give me that big old thumbs up. We got 8 of you that have. Nathan, he says, I am a sandblaster small business looking to get into powder coating. Stuck on which bake booth to use, electric, gas, or infrared. What kind of parts do you think you want to coat, Nathan? That's probably the biggest question. And what kind of source, what kind of electric hookups do you have? What kind of gas hookups do you have? Because that's all gonna determine what you should be using. A lot of guys, I know my first oven I built, it's an electric oven. It's 5 foot wide, 5 foot deep, 6 foot tall. We put 4, like, I don't even remember what wattage. We put 4 elements in it, and it runs about, I want to say 30 to 40 amps. Welcome, Mark from Vegas. What would you usually use a primer? So Adam, on primers, it really depends. If you're trying to get some good corrosion resistance, it's a good layer to put down. If you're using cast items, it's a good product because you can kind of fill some of that casting out and then your top coat goes on. I know we've done some ag parts where we just went straight to color because the customer didn't want to pay for a primer, and the top of the metal actually stuck out and rusted like instantly. So we had to strip them all, put a primer down, and recoat them, which sucked. If you're doing raw steel and they want some corrosion protection, you can use a primer. If you've got like aluminum, I mean, it's basically you're either trying to fill up some deep pitting or you're trying to add, another layer of protection. Francisco, have you ever heard of curing with a Heller reflow oven? Any advice? I don't know what that is. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what that is. Do you have any more information on that oven? Nathan, nothing bigger than a 6x4x4 to start with, and we have 240 volt gas. If you're only doing a 6x4x4, electric's fine. It's not and they're cheap and easy to get into. Mark, good gun. What's a good gun for the cost? 900 to 1200. I wish I could help you there. I don't have any experience with guns in that price range. I literally went from the Eastwood dual voltage gun, which is 150 or whatever, up to about a $3,500 KCI gun. I've heard good things about the Cool Coat guns from Columbia Coatings, but I haven't actually been able to try one. I've been talking with Brian over there trying to get one sent out to me. He said that he had like a mass amount of orders come in and that took them all up, so he wasn't able to send me one. I'm hoping he'll send me one to demo. I'm more than happy to send it back to him. I just want to demo it so I can help you guys out, because there's a lot of people, and I keep telling them, I'm like, there's a lot of guys that want that entry-level gun around $1,000, and I could send them your way, but I'm not going to send them your way if I don't know what the gun does. But I've seen good reviews on it. Belgium, man, we are all the way out there. Reflow oven for SMT, electronic surface mount PCB. Yeah, I'm sorry, man, I'm not familiar with that at all. We basically, I have experience with infrared ovens, electric ovens, gas ovens, both natural gas and propane, and that's all the experience I have. You bet, Mark. I'm sorry I couldn't help you out anymore, but sometimes you can find some used units online for around that cost. But again, with anything, what you pay is what you get. So the more, I always tell people, when you're buying application equipment, don't spare the money. Go full bore. If you're trying to put like a booth, an oven, and a gun together. The two most important parts are that oven and the gun. And I'd say the gun's the most important one of that. So I'd put your money towards the gun first, then the oven, and then if you have to, the booth. We actually, when I first started spraying, we used to just spray out in the open, and then we'd vacuum it all up every single time, just because we didn't have the money for the booth. Wyatt, is sand blasting mill scale on 14 gauge sheet metal a good idea, or is an acid bath the best way to go? Would really prefer to stay away from acid bath. Guys have said sandblasting takes too long with mill scale. It depends on your sandblaster, but yeah, and the mill scale, because like flat panels, you're going to have a really hard time getting that mill scale off. A lot of like the tubes, like your square tubing and stuff, you're going to have no problems with. I prefer to sandblast because not only do you take the mill scale off and clean it up, you also put the profile in it. Obviously, an acid bath is going to put a chemical profile in it, so you're still going to be okay, but I prefer sandblasting when I can over the acid. Oh, okay, a conveyor electric oven. Now I got to scroll back up and see what you asked there. Yeah, Francisco. So a lot of the lines, they'll use a conveyor electric oven. So that's not unheard of. I guess I'm not sure what you're asking. In a lot of the bigger facilities that I sell to, they'll have like an infrared dry off oven, and it can be either electric operated or gas or both. But I've seen the electric ones too. I've also seen like infrared heaters that heat up parts. Like rebar, they'll run it through an infrared heater, heat it up so that they can get like 8 to 10 mils on it as it passes through an automated gun. Adam, I have a Spectra coat from Powder by the Pound, about 1200, seems to be good. I appreciate the input there, Adam. If we can help somebody out and find a decent gun in that price point, that's what it's all about. Just started a powder coating business here. Hard to find good quality powder here. I order from Prismatic in the US. Okay, yeah, it probably takes you a while to get it, but we use a lot of their powders for our custom stuff. So you're probably going to spend a little bit more, but if it's hard to find good powder coaters down there, you're probably going to be able to charge a little bit more too. Andrew asks, he's curious about my settings for small pieces with the GEMA. Stock settings are a fire hose. Adam, what's your air at? What are your two air settings at? Nathan, yeah, you can powder coat some plastic. He's asking if you can do some plastics in an infrared. You need to know what the plastic is and then figure out what its melting point is. I've seen guys do them with like heat guns, which scares the crap out of me because I don't want to melt. A lot of what we would need to do is like center caps for wheels to match them, but we end up just scuffing them and spray painting them. Andrew, 5.5 is the air going into your gun. What are your two settings on the gun, your total air and your conveying air? So back to the plastic, if you're going to do that or try and cure powder on plastic, you're going to have to go at a way lower temperature and you're going to have to do it for a way longer time. But I've seen a lot of people do it. We just don't, because we paint wheels with liquid too, so it's no big deal for us to prep some center caps and just spray them. 25 and 1.5 top, two numbers. So Andrew, I would try what gun do you have? Which model? We have a question about how to price things, and I'm not going to be able to give you a good answer. A lot of the way we price things is through trial and error, unfortunately. The more you do it, the more you can figure out, okay, this is how long it's going to take to clean it. This is how long it's going to take to blast it, how long to outgas it, how long to coat it, how long to cook it, how long to package it to get it back out. So every part's different. And the more you do it, you just need to start calculating your time and resources that go into doing those parts. And you may eat it on one or two projects, but the more you do the same part, the better you'll get at pricing. And if someone's like, well, last time you charged me this, be like, well, yeah, but it was the first time we did the part. We had to learn the process. And if you don't, you can lead with that too when you price out a part for the first time. Just tell them, hey, we're going to do it for this cost, but this is a learning process for us. So we're going to have a better idea if you have more of these parts to do down the road and what they're actually going to cost, and just be upfront with them. Okay, Andrew, with the Gema Opti Pro, I have my settings at 3.0 and 2.5, and then we use a lot of the presets, so like for the flat panel, the Faraday, and the recoat, and I don't have any issues. So you may want to check like your fluidizing air. I mean, you should have a pretty decent cloud coming out of the gun, so I'm not sure what it looks like. The Corona ring is not cheap. Hold on a second. I actually have my price book with me because I'm traveling for the sales part of my job. So you're pushing $450 for the Corona ring. They're not cheap, but we use ours quite a bit, especially on recoats, like with our clears and stuff. And ever since we have, I've never once had a back ionization issue. It's insane. But I've seen on forums too where people take metal and make their own. Basically on your gun, there's a little like clip back there, and it slides into that clip, and that actually grounds it. So what that metal is doing that goes around your nozzle is it's actually taking energy out of the cloud and reducing the amount of charge going to the part so that it doesn't get super energized and bounce back out at you. Those are great guns, though. I mean, I've sprayed with a few different, and I love them. So we have the question, what would be your preferred OEM silver for wheels? It really depends where you're at. So here in the US, I use APC, and I think it's alloy silver. I'm not sure, but it's like a medium flake. Again, I own a wheel repair company, so we do a lot of liquid, and basically all wheels have a large flake, a medium flake, or a fine flake. So we just do the medium so that we're right in the middle. Andrew, how can I order that ring? Where are you located, Andrew? I assume you bought the gun from a distributor, right? We got about 23, 24 people in here. I want to thank you guys all for stopping by and watching. Again, we went over the Eastwood powder coating beginner's guide today. In the beginning, just kind of, if you're new to powder coating, it's not a bad little book for $20. Again, Eastwood is not sponsoring the video. They didn't pay me to show this, but it has some pretty good information in it. So if you guys, if all you viewers out there, if you would do me a favor, it helps out a lot. Give us that big old thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love for you to subscribe and see some of our videos. We've got some projects coming up. I'm going to try and do some demos on the KCI gun. I just rebuilt mine completely, and I'll explain what went wrong with it and why I had to redo some stuff. But I want to go over that gun and the quality, which is about a $3,500 gun. I'm going to go over the Eastwood gun and then the Opti Pro from Gema too. We're just going to kind of compare them all. I'm trying to get Columbia Coatings to send me one of theirs so we can get that in there, because I've used them all. They're all good for certain purposes and certain I don't want to say professions, but for beginners and people that are starting to the hobby, get more serious, and then professional coders. So there's a good gun for everyone out there. Appreciate every one of you guys throwing that thumbs up for me. What other questions you got? We got 24, 25 people. There's got to be some good questions. So Wyatt says, I make signs very similar to the Hellcat sign you did a while back. So for example, do you think something like that, but with a fresh mill scale on it, should be sandblasted? Appreciate the help. So it depends what they're going to do with it and what they want to pay. So if they're not going to have it outside or any environment where it's going to be bad, I would just clean it up and spray it. A lot of times we just sandblast it real quick in our booth and then spray it. It doesn't take very long on a flat sign like that. And I'm actually really excited. We just bought a CNC plasma table. Not this Friday, but the next Friday we're going to pick it up. So we're going to start doing some custom stuff. Too many questions, not enough. Try and do these things so you guys can ask. And then I did start, I don't even remember what it's called, a Patreon. I started a Patreon. So if you want some more like one-on-one time where you can actually talk with me, you can sign up on there, and you can literally just give me a call and I'll walk you through stuff too. My boy BJ's in here. He went live last week and I was probably sleeping because he's late all the time. Yeah, we'll start. He asked if we could start from the beginning. So what you missed out on, Ben, is how to work your gun you bought from Eastwood. So you may have to go back and rewatch it once we're done with the live part of this. Lauren, no, ask all the questions you want, man. That's why I'm here. And I'm sure there's 20 plus other people in the room, so I'm sure that they're wanting to know too. You get in some of those forums, if you ask the same question too many times, they get angry at you. I promise I won't do that. Fast 450, when doing valve covers, do you degrease first and then put them in the strip tank, or just dip them? So I actually wash them first because I don't want that oil, grease, and grime going into my dip tank. I don't know if it matters. I just don't want to get it all nasty, and you take those parts out, and if they have grease on them and you rinse them and you can't get it out, it could get into the pores and then you're just causing issues. So I try and get them. I tell the customer, number one, the cleaner you bring this to me, the less money it's going to cost you to clean it or to do the job. But if it comes in dirty, I'm going to charge you $85 an hour to clean it. So that's your call. I'm happy to take your money. Ben, I was just talking about the CNC machine. It will be done not this Friday, but next Friday. We're going up there Thursday night. We're going to be in Decorah, Iowa for Boss Tables, if you guys are looking for one. They're going to do a day training with me and my guys, and then we're going to haul the thing back and shove it in our room we made in our shop and hopefully start cranking out some cool stuff. And actually, if you follow me or if you follow BJ, you'll probably see one of our first projects because we're going to do one together. Daniel, what do you use to remove old powder coats? So right now we're using either sandblasting or B17. I did just get an email from a gentleman at Powder Strip, and he wants us to try his chemical. So we're probably going to try and work out a deal with him to try his. It's supposed to be just as good as B17. So keep your eyes out, because if we try it, we're going to do a video on that and kind of compare them. And that stuff's nasty. So if you're not a professional shop, they won't even sell to you because of the muriatic acid. So if they do have some other products on their website, which I haven't tried either. So without that, which you can buy. So I would probably give one of those a try. Laurent, orange peel, is that due to bad grounding or is the gun part of the problem? Yes and yes. So orange peel can be 1,000 different things. It could be your gun, it could be the powder, it could be the amount of powder, whether it's too much or too little. It could be your ground, it could be the particle charge and how it holds it. So inherently, powder is not going to lay out like a liquid. The liquid has time to lay flat, and as the solvents evaporate, it kind of just settles out. So it's easier to get a liquid to lay down smooth. Powder, it's a lot more difficult, and every different color, every different manufacturer, you could spray 3 different wet blacks and they're all going to lay down differently. So unfortunately, it's just trial and error to get that perfect. When you do a two-tone, would you start with the lighter color or the dark color first? It depends what you're doing. Honestly, a light color is going to be easier to cover up with a dark color, so I'd probably suggest that. But really, it comes down to what parts you're coating and where the colors are going. So we're trying to do this farm sign for a customer, and it's not very big. It's like 12 by 12, and he wants 3 different colors on it. And where he wants green, there's white that comes down in it, and there's blue that comes up to it. So it really comes down to masking and how you do all that. But we've put white over blue, and as long as you put it on it thick enough, it's going to cover. Where do you get the B17? From Benco. If you type in Benco into Google, it'll pop up. But again, you got to be you have to have an official business to do that. You got to be able to provide them with a form to prove it. And that's recent. I think that might have just gone into effect this year. It's a law that was passed, I think, with the muriatic acid. They want to make sure it's for professional use only. I'm sure the government wants to track it to know where it's going. I've been thinking of starting powder coating in my garage as a side hustle for like 3 years. I work 40 to 60 hours a week. Is it worth the investment in tools, oven, gun, blaster, compressor? So the nice thing about the compressor is you can use it for a lot of tools. The Sandblaster, if you can get one for a decent price, and it depends where you live too. I mean, if there's a ton of little powder coaters around you, you may not get any business. When I first started, I bought the Eastwood dual voltage kit just for fun. I was taking parts off my Corvette, like brackets and stuff, and stripping them and repowder coating them. It was just fun. And then when we started doing them for wheels, that's when I had to invest in the better equipment, the more expensive stuff. But like anything, it depends how much time you have and how much money you have and all that kind of stuff. But I know a lot of guys that have started off as a side hustle or just a side hobby, and now they're full-time powder coaters, because when people find out what you can do and how big of a part you can do, it just keeps spreading. So that's probably the number one question I get is, how big is your oven? And my answer is not big enough. So I'm not saying buy the biggest oven in the world, but as you grow, you need to keep upgrading all that equipment. But if you can get in cheap with some entry-level equipment, like my first oven I got for free from my in-laws who bought a new oven. I'm like, I'll take that one. And then I had an air compressor, and we used like your over-the-shelf strippers, and then just cleaned them up and did a light sandblast and then coated them. If I missed your question, just ask it again. I think I got them all, though. One day I want to do one of these in my shop, but whenever I'm there at this hour, we're still working. We don't get to sit around and drink beer, so when I'm on the road, it's kind of nice. You bet. Happy to help. What size air compressor would be good? So for the powder application, you don't need anything big. I mean, you could have like a 2-gallon air compressor. It doesn't take hardly any air to powder coat, but if you're using it for blasting, you need to rate it based on your blaster. So when we first started, I think we had a 17 horsepower, like 28 CFM, 60 gallon, I think, which barely got us by. Now we have a 25 horsepower, 85 CFM, 250 gallon air compressor, which works fine, but we just bought a gigantic setup. So I'm hoping it's enough. It's got like the 2-inch hose on it and stuff, but our nozzle size is still pretty small, and that's kind of what determines how much air you need and how much CFM. Nathan asked, why is crushed glass not used for blasting before powder coating, or can it be used? So it depends on what the substrate is, I'd probably say, but if I know beads are bad because they don't put enough profile into the substrate, so you don't actually have that mechanical grip. I don't know if crushed glass is the same, but I would think it would be too weak on like steel. So that's probably why. Basically, if you took a microscope to the part and you don't see jagged edges, your powder's not going to stick. If it's just nice and like smooth and round, you're not putting that mechanical grip into it. Randy, when you partial cure the primer, do you take it out of the oven after flow? So we kind of go off the data sheet here a little bit. It depends on the powder. Some powders need to do like a partial cure, like 60, 70%. And some you can actually get them to gel out and then remove them. So again, with anything with powder and adhesion and how to use it, I always recommend you look at the data sheet. And if you aren't clear on what the data sheet's telling you, call that manufacturer. They're going to have someone that will tell you exactly how they want you to do it. So, I think that's the one thing I've found with a lot of the shops we go into when they go from like liquid to powder, they're so afraid to call their like support team. So you've got the guys that sell the equipment, you've got the guys that sell the powder. You can call those people and they're going to tell you what that powder should do and how to treat it and how to apply it. So their goal is that you are having good luck with it. They want to keep selling it to you. And if you think that, oh, this is crap powder, it's not holding and and it's just because you aren't sure how to do it and they lose you as a customer, they'd much rather have you just call and get an explanation of it. So where do you go for bulk powders, gloss, satin, black? So all of my blacks I get from Tiger Drylick in Illinois. They're wet black, semi, and matte black. We get all of them from there. You bet, Randy. The wet black is probably one of the best ones I've ever used. If you've used it and you've used a better one, just let me know. Because I'm always looking for a better, deeper, wetter black for our wheels. Is a Redline Easy 50 a good beginner's gun? I've never used it. I've heard some good things about it, kind of like the Columbia Coatings gun, but unfortunately I've never used it. If anyone in here has, feel free to chime in. So Mark asks, how long have I been doing powder coating? So professionally, actually selling it as a service, we've been doing it for 4.5 years. I probably started powder coating 8 years ago though, with the Eastwood gun, just as a hobby. I took it pretty serious when I got into it professionally. We've gone to the Powder Coating Institute class. We've gone to some custom coating institution classes and stuff like that. So if you have the opportunity to go to one of those or do one of their webinars, I strongly suggest it, because usually you get someone from the chemical division in there, you get like a GEMA rep or some gun rep, you get a powder coating rep, and then you get the Powder Coating Institute people, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. Most of these people have been in the business for 15 plus years. Outdoor Zone, you changed the channel name. Wondered why I wasn't seeing it. I apologize. We switched the branding to right now powder coating, and we're actually waiting for the state to okay the name change. We're going from Rimrite to right now powder coating. We're kind of shifting more of our focus towards powder coating than we are just advertising wheel repair. So most of our dealers in our area know what we do, and it's not going to be too hard for them to change our name in their system. Thank you, Outdoor Zone. I agree. It's we spent a good half hour trying to figure out the name, so we're pretty happy with it. Our goal is that we could go out and buy up all these small powder coaters and it would be a universal worldwide name. I don't think there's a massive powder coating company in the world out there, so we want to be the first. That's kind of a joke, but as they say, there's always a little truth to every joke. I think they say that. So let's see here. Yes, Prismatic did quit making their Super Chrome. I just saw that they came out with Super Chrome 2. So I have already seen, I don't know, it sucks, I guess. He asked any idea why. I really don't know. I don't talk to those guys. They came out with Super Chrome 2, and then someone already, if you're on any of the forums on Facebook, if you're not, get in there, there's a wealth of knowledge, but I assume they quit making it to brand it and charge more. So that's what I've heard. It's the same crap quality after you clear it, and they charge like an extra $5 per pound. So they just wanted to make more money, I guess, or I'm sure they wanted to make it better, but they just couldn't. That stuff, it's selling, it's expensive now. At least when they first, yep, $5 more a pound, according to Daniel. When they first discontinued it, there were guys all over Facebook like willing to pay extreme amounts to get some of the original Super Chrome. So Outdoor Zone, you missed out on your chance to sell that stuff for like $50 a pound. I think I probably have a couple pounds of it, but I hate it. Hey Daniel, have you used the Super Chrome too? If you have, I'd love to hear your review on it. I think we all would. We've used some different stuff from Powder by the Pound, and I think they call it polished aluminum, which has been pretty good. When Prismatic stopped selling the Super Chrome, we bought some whatever they recommended. It was like a polished aluminum name or something, and we used that under some transparent gold, and it did not work at all. I honest to God, I hate doing the bright base colors with the translucent tops. If you're going to do that, it's better to have a polished metal surface. Excuse me. Bud Light Platinum. Funny story, when that first came out, it was a long time ago, like 10 years ago. My brother worked at a local grocery store, and Bud Light, the distributor for our area, had a big party, and I went to that party and drank a ton of that for free, and I haven't drank it since. Adam says Eastwood has a reflective chrome that is pretty. What's it look like after you clear it, Adam? Is it still pretty good? And I wonder what the price point on it is. Have you ever tried Eastwood's Shimmering 3D powders? I have not. To be honest with you, I've not bought any powder from Eastwood since I was hobby powder coating. Everything I buy is pretty much either the big brands, like the big bulk back packages, or from Prismatic. Have you done any of those 3Ds? And if you have, do you have any examples? Green Mountain Media, welcome. Do you have any on your channel? Outdoor Zone? I saw the ad when they came out. You'll have to take a photo or something and send it to me. Did you like it? Mark asked if I have car dealership accounts for my powder coating business. So that's actually why we got into, my channel is about kayaking. Yeah, you probably don't want to show your powder coating on there unless you did your kayak. So the reason we got into powder coating is because a lot of the dealerships wanted to do black wheels on their stock silver rims. And we have a mobile service for painting and repairing curb rash. And we didn't want to do gloss black because in a trailer with dirt and dust, you're going to get a bunch of debris in there. And that's why we actually started powder coating. So actually our biggest customers, they send us, we get anything from a used car that's got a bunch of messed up wheels and they want them refurbished, so we can do them whatever they want. If they want to update the look to a black, or if they want to keep it stock and do a silver, we can do that. A lot of, I would say probably 70% of our wheel business is brand new cars from dealerships that the customer wants the like blackout package, but they don't want to pay $5,000 to have it done. So for the price of us powder coating, the dealership marks it up a little bit. So they literally pick up the phone, call us, we do everything else. We'll come pick up the car, dismount tires, break them down, strip them, powder coat them, put it all back together and bring it back to the dealership, and they get to upcharge that just for picking up the phone. So it keeps us busy. It makes the dealership a little extra money on the sale, and it's a win-win. So if you have the capability of doing wheels in your area, unless you're in my area, don't do it. But if you have them and you're in a different area, by all means, you need to go talk to dealerships and let them know what you can do. So I saw the thing 710 just discussed about prismatic gloss black. Do you have the same issue with the black looking like it's coated dry, but when cured, it's very light in the corners? Did he, 710, was that mentioned in mine? I didn't see it. So back when I first started coating, I used to have that issue where I would do the whole thing, and then like in the corners, it would be light. Basically, it's all about your technique and how you do it. I don't know what gun they were dealing with, but unless it was pulling, I guess it could pull. It depends on how sharp the corners are, but I would assume you're just not getting enough powder on there. And if that's the case, usually you can check that with a flashlight. But what we ended up doing is basically when we do a wheel, we do the center to get in the lug holes, and then we come out and we hit all of our corners in the pocket. So your two outer corners and your inner corner, and then we come back and do the top of the spokes. So since we've changed to that technique rather than just doing strokes over the wheel, we've been able to angle the gun, get in there, and make sure we have enough powder in there. So I don't know if that answers your question, Green Mountain, but let me know if you have anything else to add to that. I powdered my outdoor torch lamps, 3D shimmering. It's black with several colors of metal flake, really cool. Okay. Outdoor Zone, is that like when you're looking at from different angles, does it change color with all the different metal flake in there? I'm scrolling through here because I don't remember if 710. All right, Outdoor Zone it does. You helped me a bunch since I began hobby coding. What's best to remove? You're gonna have to elaborate. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Like what's best to remove the powder? 710 had it. Okay. Is 710 like a powder coater, I assume? So I just purchased a Colo system. Do you have any opinions on their equipment? I assume you mean Columbia Coatings, Green Mountain. I actually own their oven and their booth, but we just bought the filter wall and then we built our side extensions. And when we got them in, we had some issues with our burner, which they were pretty good. They took care of it right away. And then I hired a new guy and he somehow locked us out of the control, and called him up and they helped me out right away. So I can't badmouth them one bit. It's entry level equipment, entry professional level, but for the price point, I can't complain at all. To remove powder, your best bet's B17, which I talked about a little earlier. But again, if you don't have a business, they're not going to sell to you. So you'll have to look at some of their other chemicals to see what you can have shipped to you. They won't ship anything with muriatic acid. 710 Performance is a YouTube channel also. I will check them out. Green Mountain says I use rim strip and love it to remove powder. Outdoor Zone B17, where can I send you sample photo? If you want to email me anything, you can do it at dan@rightnowpowdercoating.com. Green Mountain, where do you get rim strip at? Who's a supplier? Because I've heard a lot of people using that. Is that the same as powder strip? Oh, I'll type it for you. Chance. How do you guys deal with chrome wheels and turn it into a nice piece of art? So it depends what the chrome looks like. If it's peeling, we don't touch it. We just tell them we won't touch it because it's a headache. It's a nightmare. You'll never be able to charge them enough money to make up the time you're going to have in it. If it's like a perfect, flawless piece of chrome and they want a candy coat over it, you basically just need to clean it really, really well, degrease the heck out of it. I'd put it in the oven and outgas it for a while just to make sure everything is baked out of it. And then make sure you tell that customer you're not going to give them a warranty because there's no adhesion, but they're going to get a really cool looking wheel. So if they take care of that wheel, they're not running into curbs, they're not driving down gravel roads or on, dirty roads, they're gonna probably be okay. But you just want to make sure you apply it with the right thickness and you do a full cure and you should be okay for the most part. Yeah, send that over Outdoor Zone. I'm excited to see what it looks like. Was that Chance, were you talking about beat up chrome or nice chrome that you want to coat over? Eastwood reflective chrome. I have not put clear coat on it, just use it as is. So $16.99 ain't too bad for chrome. Is it UV stable, Adam? Green Mountain says rim strip is basically B17, which I kind of knew that. I'm just trying to figure out, because I had Powder Strip send me an email this week asking us to try their stripper. So I didn't know if it was the same thing or not. So Chance, you've powder coated over like good chrome or bad chrome? All right, Outdoor Zone, I look forward to seeing that photo. I might have to try that powder. Okay, so how much time did you have in it just to get it? I assume you kind of grinded away what you could and feathered the edges, or did you get all the chrome off? I was told all chrome was a base only, always clear over. Yep, Nathan, I would agree with that. It's not UV stable. The way they make it, all the metallic floats up to the surface and you hope to God it lays out. That's why if you under cure it, you'll see like black lines. If you ever took sandpaper to it, it turns black instantly. So you have to put that clear or transparent, whatever, a top coat on it just so that you can protect it. I think I'm going to cut this off at about an hour, so we got about 4 more minutes if you guys have any more questions. My first Q&A, I think went an hour and 45, and I was like, man, I can't believe people stayed with me that long. Mark asked if you can sandblast the chrome rims to scuff it up a little bit. You can. Again, I turn almost all chrome away. Except on wheels, just wheels. We do a ton of motorcycle parts and other random chrome parts, and we do a light blasting on it. And if we actually have videos on our page about it, I think. And if you can't, sometimes there's angles and it just won't scuff up. We'll take a Scotch pad and just rough it up, because you want to make sure you don't want to go through the chrome, because you don't want the brass and nickel layers to show up. Or nickel and brass layers to show up, because then it can start peeling. But you want it roughed up so that there's some mechanical adhesion for that top coat to stick onto the chrome. If the chrome was put on well, it's going to be stuck to the part anyways. You just need your powder to stick to it. Green Mountain said, not sure if this was already asked, but have you tried the new chrome from Prismatic? If so, better than the old? I have not tried it, but I've seen reviews on it and they did not like it. They upped the price like $5 a pound, and I guess it's about the same thing. How do you go over colors with customers? Do you tell them to look at a website like Prismatic, or do you help out in the process of choosing? That is an excellent question. The majority of what we do, if you want a custom color, like we get a lot of people that are like, we want gray, or we want silver, or we want Kingsport. It's like, okay, well, here's the website, go to it, pick out your color, we'll order it. Or they can order it if they want to keep the powder when they leave. But we do not pick out colors. We have a bunch of the samples from the different manufacturers. They can come into our showroom and we'll show them all of our colors and we'll order that exact one. But if they bring in a part and they say, can you tell me what's going to match this? I go, I can show you what I have close, but I make them pick the color, because if you pick it and coat it and they're not happy, you're going to be out doing that again on your dime. So if they pick it and they're not happy, then usually they understand, this is my fault. I'm going to pay you to redo the part. So it's everything you can do up front with that customer to prepare them for what to expect, or what could go wrong. They're usually very receptive to that. They're not going to get too mad. Chrome off, hell no. I sandblast, but it keeps coming off. The last ones I did, it was my last done with it. Yep, Chance, that's a lot of guys, they fall into that. They don't want to say no, they don't want to turn the job down, so they just do it, and it never works out. With chrome, if you can get all the loose stuff off, and then you'll kind of see a hard edge where it's lifted, if you can grind that back to where it feathers out and you see all the layers, Usually, it's good adhesion at that point, but it's so much of the chrome today is just crap and it's not put on well. Green Mountain agree, always make them pick the color. Should I always rough the surface to be powdered and also preheating with a torch? I know it's good to heat up, but okay. So yes, you should always have some sort of either a rough surface or a chemical grip. When you rough it up, you're giving it mechanical grip. When you put an acid or an etcher on it, you're giving it chemical grip. So you always need to have some, and I take that back. So if you're doing like a polished wheel or a chrome wheel and you want that perfect shiny surface and you're putting a top coat, you would not rough it up, but you need to let the customer know it could fail. It's not going to be as durable, all those sorts of things. So you got to set that expectation with the customer. If you're powder coating for durability, then yes, you got to always rough it up. We don't heat with the torch. I don't want to put propane or MAP gas into my wheels. If we're going to heat up a wheel, we're going to put it in the oven and let it outgas just how it's going to bake. Soon I will receive the Colo system. Any advice to run it properly? I don't have a whole lot of advice. Once you have it, if you want to ask specific settings, I can try and help, but I've never ran their gun. I am trying to get a demo, but they have not sent me one yet. So if you have some setting questions, just keep your eyes out for the next Q&A once you have it, and I'll try and help you out. Green Mountain is going to be doing a video of the Colo gun on his YouTube channel. So Green Mountain, let me know when you do that and I'll come check that out. Okay, Eastwood does recommend to coat the reflective chrome. That's kind of what I figured. Appreciate it, Outdoor Zone. Is it really bad to vacuum up powder on the floor? Yes. So the reason that there's a motor on your vacuum, so anytime you're in a powder situation and it's in the air floating, it can be explosive. And having an electric motor, there's little sparks in that motor and you could blow up your room. With that said, I've been known to do it myself. They do sell vacuums that are safe to use, but they're super expensive. So if you can afford one, definitely. It's safer to just get like a squeegee, put it in a pile, scoop it up, throw it out that way. Obviously with a broom, you're just putting it in the air, so it doesn't work very good. Is that the Chinese Colo gun? I'm not sure if it is or not. Okay, Green Mountain says yes, it is. They also make the Columbia Coatings KKHD system. So the majority of your guns that are not name brand, like big name brand, like Eastwood, or that's not name brand, Gema, Nordson, Wagner, Parker Ionics, they're basically all repackaged Chinese guns. They're just putting their name on them. Yeah, if you can get a good squeegee, that's actually how a lot of professionals like clean off their walls in their booth. It just pulls it straight down. What's the toughest powder coat you know of for industrial application? I don't know. That's a very good question. I would ask a manufacturer. We've never had anyone come in and ask us for, like, they need the most durable. It's going to be, they'll be able to tell you. I don't know who you get your powder from, but if you call up like Exalta or PPG or whoever, they do make like a plastic, like what they use for like park benches and trash cans and picnic tables. It's almost like rubbery. You might have seen it at like amusement parks or your local park. It's I want to say a thermoset plastic or something like that. And I'm Don't quote me on that. But you put it on pretty thick and it's super rubbery. It actually has healing properties. I was just talking to the Exalta rep about that the other day. So you may want to look into that. Yeah, I bet Tiger has a good one. I haven't, again, we do a lot of wheels and car parts, so we don't, and motorcycle parts, so we haven't really needed anything super strong. I have a hell of a time doing 2 coats, and when I clean the top coat off spots, I always get chunks. When you do yours, you make it look so easy. So Green Mountain, I don't know how you're doing it, but when you do the base coat, bring it out, let it cool, and then spray it. It all depends on your gun settings. You need to drop your microamps as far as you can. If you can't drop your micro, get your KV down. I would start spraying it around 125, just so you have a little bit of heat in it. If you let it sit out in your shop too long, you'll actually build up a little electrostatics on it, and that's going to be, then you need to run it, I'd blow it off, run it back in the oven, heat it up, bring it out, let it cool, and then try shooting it again. What about shooting transparent coating on Craftsman hand tools to help organizing? You could. I wouldn't, if you're doing like wrenches, I would keep it out of the head. 2 months ago, I got the Cool Coat HD and a 4x7x2 booth, and they are now sending the 3rd motor for the booth. Not that thrilled with the gun either. I don't know anything about their gun. I haven't had any issues with the booth. So the motor for the fan, are you getting powder in the motor maybe? So Green Mountain, how do you like your gun? I assume not much if you're switching. It was underpowered. So they've sent you 2 motors that are underpowered. Gun sucks, system is good. Oh. Outdoor Zone, I appreciate it. You just never know when you go live. This is about what we had last time, about 15 to 20 people, and when you guys ask questions and help each other out and talk, it makes it a lot more fun. Let's see. Do you use primer for everything you coat? We do not. Basically, unless we need a lot of corrosion protection or the customer requests it or there's casting or something like that. A radio voice. That is, I hate listening to my voice. That's why I barely listen to, I'll watch my video like once just to make sure it's okay-ish and then send it. I probably have a radio face as well. It's a good thing this wasn't for women. I mean, if they powder coat it is, but. We've got a customer, they hired a younger girl in her 20s to powder coat, and she's actually probably one of the better powder coaters I've seen. They're just, women seem to be a little bit more patient, and so they aren't trying to rush through the part. So I went over by 10 minutes, guys. You kept asking questions. So no. Can you in the comments add the live shop classes on powder coating for noobs? We don't have them in Australia. I don't know if there's any live classes. We may do some live stuff in my shop, so you may want to subscribe and turn the notification on. If you're thinking about like the Powder Coating Institute, I would Google that. It's PCI or Powder Coating Institute. They have webinars. I've seen, so I get the Powder Coating Institute magazine. which is an industrial magazine for powder coating, the industry, not industrial, industry. So I would subscribe to that because it's a good magazine if you can. I went to the class, and if you go to the class, you get it for life, I guess. It just shows up every month. So, but go to PCI, Google it. They should show you when the webinars are and when the classes are. KFX1 Colo system. See, I don't know anything about that gun. Hey, Jordan, how you doing, man? Yeah, you're late. If the surface has corrosion, little holes, does primer cannot take care of it? Sand it over for smooth. Yeah, if you're working on wheels, a lot of times we push them to silver. We try to stay away from anything that's going to highlight it. If they want to spend a lot of money, you can put a filler in there. I wouldn't use like car primer. You need to get like the Metal Lab, or Tiger makes a high temp filler that you can buy. It's a 2-part system, and then you can sand it smooth. The other thing you can do is, like you said, put primer on it, let it cool, and then take it out, sand it smooth, and then recoat it. Burning the midnight oil again in the shop, 4-wheeler frame tonight in Ralph 5002. I'm familiar with that one. Thanks for the heads up today about this live. Yeah, I tried to, I was driving. I had a 3-hour drive between stops, and I'm like, man, I should put up a quick video just to let people know I'm going live, because I had a lot of comments or private messages about missing out on it. You should do some glass hot flocking. I don't have anyone that buys glass from me. We did some stupid stuff when I first started the channel, like powder coated a golf ball. You can put powder on anything. We did a t-shirt. So what about buffing it for more shine or waxing it? Definitely you can wax it. Buffing it depends on what it is. I've been told you can buff clear coat without an issue. I wouldn't buff a single stage though, especially not a gloss black, because you're going to scar it. With anything, if you're like, man, I wonder if I could buff that, you know what I would do is do the part, hang a scrap piece, like a piece of metal, like a sample, spray that too, and then try and do what you want to do. Try and put wax on it, try and buff it, see what happens. I'm sure there's a lot, I've heard a lot of people like, oh yeah, you can wet sand it and buff it. And I'm like, that would scare me. I think you can with clear, but I don't know about anything else. Powder coating polish, yeah. So we offer ceramic coating on a lot of our wheels, especially the blacks. But I always tell people, I'm like, this is like paint on your car. If you want it to last and look good, you need to take care of it, even though it's on a wheel, like you would your car. So even if it's just a spray wax, do it. Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people doing the clear, but also like liquid clear, you want to make sure you have enough on there that you can wet sand and buff it back out without burning through. Because once you burn through, you're redoing the whole thing. Yep, I agree, Chance. Ceramic coating, we do a lot of it on black. We added as like a $50 upgrade to do the face just to protect it. And a lot of people jump on it. But with that, guys, I appreciate you all chiming in and asking questions. We'll try and come back. Like I said, when I'm on the road, I have time to do this because I'm not home. I don't have to take care of the kids, and it's quiet, so it's easier to do. But I kind of want to do some in my shop. So if you have any ideas on projects you'd like to see, we can maybe do something in my shop live. Turning powder to liquid for small chips. We've actually done that. We did it with a reducer, like a paint reducer. No, we do not always clear wheels. We only clear them if the paint requires it, or if the customer, like on gloss, if they ask for it, we'll clear it. So with that, guys, I am going to sign off. I appreciate all of you stopping by. And I hope to see you on the next one. If you have any questions or anything else, like I said, you can look below. I'm going to update the description with some of our links. If you're into buying stuff and all that kind of stuff, you can click on our links on Amazon, support us that way. We have a Patreon page we just started, so we actually have one member. I don't know if he was on here today or not, but we can do a little more personal one-on-one training with you if you're a member and all that kind of stuff. So we will catch you guys on the next one. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you stopping out.